Hey booze, hey, do your blankets feel like super glue in the morning? Well sis, it's time to shake them off. Welcome to Wake Up Happy Sis, the show that jumpstarts your day with a bang. We're strolling down these self-care streets as we navigate the maze of wellness and healing. We're helping you live happy, healed, and whole. And we do it all with a hearty dose of belly laughs for good measure. Stay tuned and get ready to wake up happy, sis. Welcome, everybody. Look, today is such a fabulously great day. I hope that everybody is having the best day ever. I'm trying to get all my things set up, we're shooting on location today. We're on location today because I ain't at home. I'm sure you can see this.
I saw that. Like, where are you?
I am in DC, the District of Columbia. Visiting family and friends. So that's where we at today. But let's talk about the show. So I'm your host, LeAnne Dolce, Chief Self-Love Officer over here at Wake Up Happy Sis. And you're tuned into the Wake Up Happy Sis show that is live and in living color on KCCR Cityscape Radio, where we're changing the narrative for our Black and Brown people because we're telling our story our way and we're always unapologetic about it. Today's episode, Healing Histories, Navigating Trauma with Triumph, is all about turning our pain into our power. So, along with me is my fabulous co-host, Sheronda Sealey, and we're joined by April Nowlin. She's going to tell me if I got that right or wrong. I feel like it's like Nowlin, like how they say New Orleans. This is Nowlin.
Yeah.
So, a certified life breakthrough coach. Now, today we're really diving deep into some of our own personal stories, as we do, giving you some expert advice on overcoming trauma and harnessing your inner strength, because we all have it. I know sometimes it feels like you don't. So this episode is designed to inspire you and to equip you with actionable steps to help you reclaim your joy and move from survival to thriving. So, as always, grab your favorite cup of whatever you like to drink in the morning and help us welcome Coach April to the show.
Yay! Woo,
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
I am fabulous.
Awesome. Well, why don't you tell the people a little bit about you?
Well, thank you for having me on the show, LeAnne and Sheronda. I watched a few of your previous episodes, and so I am super excited to be here this morning. I am passionate, like extremely passionate about helping women to create a life they love after heartbreak. And I just believe that you can thrive so well after trauma with the right tools. So I am a relationship coach. I specialize in divorce recovery and healthy dating. And so you guys may think those two are nowhere near each other, but I like to provide women with a full circle of support. So healing from heartbreak, understanding healthy relationships, getting back into healthy relationships. So taking women the full circle of creating a life they love after heartbreak.
That is awesome. We definitely need that. I feel like sometimes always, what's going on with our Instagram? Now, see, if it ain't one thing, it's another. I do feel like, especially now, I feel like there's so much more trauma and things that are coming around relationships. I've had so many of my close friends and relationships either have been broken up, the person may have passed away. And so we're just left with all these little scars and not always knowing how to deal with that. So I think it's great to have somebody to help us kind of navigate those waters. So thank you for all that you do.
Thanks for having me.
So today we are talking about going from trauma to triumph. How are we going to turn our hurt and pain into power? How do we turn that around? So first, I want to start by talking a little bit about what is trauma, right? And so trauma can be defined as a deeply distressing or disturbing experience that overwhelms a person's ability to cope. Mm-hmm. It kind of leaves you feeling helpless it can lead to long-term psychological effects as well. The American Psychological Association defines trauma as an emotional response to a terrible event like an accident, rape, or natural disaster. Some of your immediate reactions may include shock and denial. And then you've got more long-term reactions, including unpredictable emotions and mood swings, flashbacks, strained relationships, and even physical symptoms. So if you're like me, when trauma hits you, it hits me physically too.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, that is such an accurate description of trauma.
yes. Now let's talk a little bit about kind of some of these hidden impacts of trauma, because I think sometimes people get the mistake that if I can't see it, it doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And trauma doesn't always leave you with visible scars. And it can really affect your mental and your physical health significantly. So you want to make sure that when you're thinking in terms of trauma, you're not just thinking like a physical accident where something happened. It can be mental, it can be emotional, where you're dealing with different types of abuse or loss and how it's affecting your mental. So you want to definitely make sure you're thinking in terms of that as well when you're thinking about what is trauma, what is loss. So let's ask a couple of questions. Okay, so what do you guys think are some of the common misconceptions that people have about trauma?
Mm. So for my community, and so I'm glad you read off, what trauma is.
Mhm.
I'm also a trauma certified support coach. And so I've gone through a lot of training about how trauma affects our physical bodies, our nervous system, all these different things. And one of the things that I learned along my training was the different types of trauma. When we think of trauma, we think of like a physical abuse, PTSD, but there's like 30 different types of trauma. But the one that I specialize in is trauma of the heart. And that is one that I don't think we realize as people, right? When we go through a heartbreak, so like you said, widow, divorce, breakup, toxic relationship, abusive relationships, even heartbreak from relationship of parent and child, that is a trauma. Your heart has been broken. I truly believe that your heart can be physically and theoretically broken, and it's a trauma. And so just like you were saying earlier, we don't always recognize it. The thing that I think about is when people say it doesn't hurt anymore. Well, just because it doesn't hurt doesn't mean you're healed. It just don't hurt. You can break your arm and not go to the doctor, and at some point it may not hurt anymore, but your arm is still going to be broken.
That's
And
right.
when I think about trauma of the heart, that's what I think about. And even in my journey, where after my first 2 divorces, I was like, I'm good. I'm not feeling it anymore. I'm good. I'm over it. I wasn't. My heart was still broken. There was still trauma.
What
Now
about
that
excuse me? What about trauma in the relationship that every single person deals with if they're of an adult age, and that's with work? What
yeah.
about the trauma that is sustained through terrible leadership?
Mm-hmm. Well, that workplace related trauma is a whole thing by itself because
Yes.
it does come along with different feelings and emotions, right? Sometimes feelings of being helpless. Um, Sometimes you're going to have imposter syndrome coming into a new environment, new people, new tasks, but you also are dealing with microaggressions,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're dealing with blatant racism sometimes, with a variety of attitudes. So to me, it's like you said, it's just another type of trauma. And I think people don't realize how big of an effect that workplace trauma can actually have on a person's life, right?
Mhm.
And one of the
Hold on.
things is that
Excuse me, ma'am.
clack it a little bit. Yes, yes. When we need a fan, we need to clack, we clack,
Hey.
But research from the CDC says that traumatic experiences increase the risk of chronic diseases like heart disease, diabetes, and even cancer. If you've ever saw stress-related illness, right? So for me, when I've been overly stressed, dealing with the effects of trauma, for me, how it's been showing up for me lately is my stomach is very upset, like in pain, physical pain. I cannot eat, I cannot sleep, right? You have to be in tune to your body so you know what's going on and how trauma is manifesting itself in your body. That's the only way you're going to be able to work through whatever the issues are, is by being mindful of what's going on in your body, in your mind, in your spirit, and being able to address that, right? Because you're going to have different responses. My response, Sheronda's response, a response, all may be very different to the same exact trauma.
Yeah. I'm a sleeper. When I get stressed, I can literally sleep all day. I'm already I'm a professional napper, y'all.
No.
No.
You cannot have that. I'm a professional nap taker.
Girl, I will out nap you any day.
Challenge accepted. Oh my God. Oh my gosh.
You ain't said nothing but a thing.
Oh,
you ain't said nothing but a thing.
But I know when I'm stressed, it's like my normal, afternoon nap just won't cut it. And I can literally sleep all day.
But wait. But can you take a really good nap for a couple of hours, then get up and then go to bed? Can you do that though? Can you do that?
I can do it. Let me tell you, at about 2:13 every day, I sleep for 37 to 43 minutes.
Very precise.
She did not say 37
to 43.
She said 37 to 40.
And let me tell you,
like, where did you get those numbers from? Like,
girl, I literally will go to sleep, wake up about 37 to 43 because I feel like my body just tells me, all right, we're good. Let's go back at it. We're good. I don't even use an alarm clock. It's like, all right, I'm good.
She is my nap crush.
Yes.
That's hilarious, y'all.
Oh, yeah.
Is it me and you? Look.
Yeah, but what you
did all my life plan.
I know, right? My daughter's the same way. Now she will come home from school, nap 3 hours, get up, go to basketball practice, and go right to bed. Like, but she's always been like that.
What about homework?
She do that at school.
See.
She has a system. We are professionals here. We are professionals.
I mean,
you give her my snaps because I am impressed.
I always did my homework at school. My homework was done before I left school.
Me too. I was just wondering.
I ain't got time for all this stuff. Only thing, if it was a paper, obviously that may not get done at school. But for the most part, everything else, we wasn't going home with all that. We're not doing that.
No.
Your daughter is doing it.
Yeah. But LeAnne, you're spot on that we need to listen to our bodies. And I think that's where we miss it and we blow off a lot of the symptoms of stress, the symptoms of trauma. So we think about stress, anxiety, depression, all these different things. A lot of them are symptoms of the trauma, and we don't deal with the trauma. And a lot of times, especially, in the medical system, we don't deal with the trauma. It's this, and I'm not knocking the medical system. So if y'all hear this and you're a doctor, I'm not knocking the medical system, but we don't deal with the trauma. We deal with the symptoms. So I'm stressed. Like you said, I'm not going to eat, or I'm going to sleep too much, or I'm going to eat ice cream all day. Right. But we don't deal with the trauma, and it's getting to the root of the trauma is how we're able to transform that into triumph, into victory. With the root of the trauma.
I 100% agree, because we have to, I practice mindfulness. So what I'll do is I'll do a body scan. Whenever you start to feel uneasy, whenever you're starting to feel stressed, when those triggers are. You get that little sinking feeling in your stomach. Just stop. Just do a body scan to see, how am I feeling in this moment because of this trigger? Because what you want to start associating with is your body responses, your emotional responses to the triggers that are happening. So now okay, I'm starting to feel this, this, and this. I'm having a panic attack. Once you're empowered to know what your issue is or what that thing is, the why I'm feeling it. Okay, what caused me to feel this? This happened and this happened. That's why I'm feeling like. Once you can do that, you'll learn how to respond, not out of emotion, but out of facts, out of another space, and not just giving a very emotional response to the trauma. We want to be thoughtful, think about what's happening, and kind of process what we're going through. And sometimes we can't do that in the moment because we're so overwhelmed by the trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of the I kind of have this 3-step process that I work through with my clients. But the very first one is facing the facts. What is true and what is not true? What are you perceiving to be true, but what is actually true? And so acknowledging and accepting, first of all, that like I've gone through something. As Black women, we like to carry our capes. We like to be superwoman. We can do it all. No, we can't. No, you can't. And
Cannot.
Cannot. You're going to end up in an early grave. You're going to end up, with all trying to do it all. And so the first thing, I feel like you're right, is what are the facts? One of the things that when after my third divorce, when I was going through what I call my year-long healing journey, one of the things that I had to ask myself, well, what is true about these 3 relationships? And I had to make a list of things that were true about me, why I picked certain men, what were true about them, how they were, what was true about what I believed about myself, what was true about the fact that I had experienced heartbreak, and it was something that I needed help with. And so, yeah, I think facing the facts, starting with acknowledging and accepting that this thing has happened to me and what is real and what is not.
Yes, I definitely 100% agree with that. You have to start from a place of reality. And if you're an overthinker like me, that can be hard to do because your mind is steady telling you they don't like you, they don't want you, they blah, 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 whatever, all these things that it's going to try to tell you. You have to learn how to sort through what may be your reaction and what are the facts. What do you know for sure? That's one great way to kind of start processing through, is just going through those facts versus, okay, this is what my brain is telling me, but is this true? Do I know this for certain? If you don't, it's okay to take a step back and say, okay, maybe I'm tripping, right? Maybe I'm overreacting.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're going to come from our experiences. If something has set us off or triggered us before, we're going based off of our experiences of that. And especially when we lock all of the pain and the heartache and all the trauma away because we can't deal with it, we're overwhelmed. So we're going to lock it in this little box. Little box will place in our soul, and we think it's done. Oh, I'm healed. I'm all better. You're not. You've never processed it. You've never used any coping mechanisms to process through those feelings.
Yeah. I when I was going through my healing journey, I'm a Christian, and so a long time I didn't talk to God because I was mad. I was like, you did this, I did the right thing
in my life, April. Like seriously, ma'am.
Like for real, I was mad. I was like, I don't want to talk to you. People were like, let me pray for you. I was like, no, no, don't even talk to him about me. I'm mad at him. No. But one thing he showed me was each experience that we have was like a forest of trees in our heart, right? So imagine your parents being a tree, your childhood being a tree, your schooling being a tree, everything is like these trees, but certain trees may be dying. And I remember years ago, my parents had this tree in their front yard, and the roots were so deep that they ran into the pipes. I mean, destroyed like their sewer system, all these things. And so the vision that I got was those traumatic experiences are dead trees, but the roots are so deep and they're affecting all the other healthy trees that are in your forest. And until you uproot that tree, it's going to keep affecting all the other things in your life. And
That's right.
so sometimes we'll cut the branches off the tree and be like, we're okay. Or we'll cut the tree down, we're okay. But the roots of the tree are still there. And I think it's key to pull up the roots. And then, as a life coach, I help you plant something new where that tree was. But it's getting to the root of it. Because if not, that those roots are going to affect everything that you do in life.
Even when you can't see them, because they real down deep in there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And you have to set yourself up with positive coping mechanisms.
Yes.
Right? Because there are healthy ones, and then there are always unhealthy options, like substance abuse, isolation, harming yourself. We don't want you to go down that road. What we want you to do is to seek professional help in dealing with this. Sometimes it can't be our good girlfriends. Sometimes it can't be our parents, our family. Right? Sometimes it can't even be the pastor at the church. Sometimes it has to be a mental health professional, a therapist, psychologist, psychiatrist, coach, somebody who can help you navigate what you're going through, understand it, get to the bottom or the root of it, and then, like April said, plant something in place of what you've just uprooted. Because that to me is the key, is having something to replace the negatives with. Because you're going to fill that gap.
But you can't miss the part about that the person that's going through has a decision to be made to get help. It starts with you to go and get help. You got to recognize it's something within you that needs attention, and you're going to go get the help that you need instead of letting it alone and I'm not going to deal with this. Well, just because you're not dealing with it is not meaning that it's not happening and that it's not affecting stuff. And in fact, the longer you go without addressing it makes more damage.
Because you speaking my life right now. Yeah, people ask me, how did you go through 3 different divorces? It was over the course of 20 years. Because after the first 2, like I said, I'm good. It would hurt. It hurt, but I had a cycle of it would hurt for like a year or 2. Then I'm good. Then I would have a same pattern, meet someone new, get married. 3 or 4 years later, we're divorced again. I got divorced at 21, 31, 41. If that ain't a pattern, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, that
it was the same cycle over and over again. Because to your point, Sheronda, it was, I'm all right, I'm good, and I wasn't.
Because you didn't deal with it when it first happened, and the last 2 wouldn't have happened if you would have dealt with it when it first happened.
Absolutely. And to your point, LeAnne, you need a team for healing. This is what I tell people. My daughter tore her ACL a year ago. She literally just started playing basketball again a month ago. But in the course of her healing, she had all these different avenues of help. She had a surgeon, she had a trainer, she had a psychiatrist, she had physical therapist, she had all these things. And when we think about trauma in any form, it takes a team. So LeAnne, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I tell people you might need your mom sometimes, but your mom is not your therapist. Your pastor is not a therapist. And even if your mom is a therapist, she probably shouldn't be your therapist. You need the complete package at different stages of your healing.
That's right.
And so I love that you said that, because people miss that. It'll be like, well, I got my girlfriend I'll call. Okay. And all she doing is reliving that trauma with you every time y'all talk.
Exactly. And then you've got the concept of people trauma bonding. Right. So I'm not always a big fan of some of the group sessions, or I'm a fan of the group sessions. I'm not a fan of people necessarily making connections in those sessions until you're at a certain level to where you know what you're not going to do is trauma bond with that person. Meaning the only bond you guys have is the trauma that you share, and all you guys do when you get together is what? Relive that trauma, rehash it. You know, it keeps circulating that negative energy. I'm big on energy, right? If you know anything about us from this show, you know we are big on energies.
Yeah.
And you get what you attract.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're trauma bonding, you're stuck in that cycle of trauma with this person. Now it's shared trauma. So it's not just you. Now it's both of y'all mixing all of this together. There's no way you can heal when all you're doing is rehashing. It's not the same as processing.
Yes.
Right? There's reliving, there's processing. They're not the same. Just because you keep talking about it with this person who's complaining about their stuff, you're complaining about yours, that's not putting you on a journey to healing. So what we want to do is make sure that we're looking at, one, do I have unresolved trauma in my life? Things that I need to deal with that are still showing up somewhere in my life. For me, it was not growing up with a father, right? Looking for him and realizing, there's still some hurt and pain behind that. And what that does is causes me it affects my other relationships, right? Any romantic relationships are going to be affected by that. And because I thought I had dealt with it, and obviously I haven't, it brings up some issues. So everybody has them. There's nobody in life who has not dealt with some sort of trauma in their life. And if you've got a therapist, a coach, or whoever who has not, find somebody else.
Yeah.
Because they cannot, how can you tell me something you've never experienced? You can't help me through that because all you're doing is going through what a book tells you.
That DSM-5 does not negate the skin in the game. Yeah. If you haven't been through anything and overcome anything, a freaking textbook is not going to help.
No, because you don't know how to align what's in that book to real life. You have no way of bringing that to life for a person and say, okay, this is how it may manifest in your life. Because you have no experience of that.
Yeah.
Right. So you want to make sure when you're picking people to be your support team, that you're not just picking people you're comfortable with. Pick people who will really stand in the gap for you, professionals who will help you, people that understand your cultural nuances, right? Because that's important too. Going to therapy or getting a coach who doesn't really understand African-American Black culture, probably not going to be the best fit for you. You never know. You have to try it out. Just like you test drive cars, you have to test drive therapists, counselors, coaches to make sure it's a good fit, that person actually can help you. But you yourself have to be coachable.
Yeah. That is such a profound statement you just made. People feel like they don't have the freedom to fire their support.
Right.
I have so many people who said, well, I was in therapy for a year. Well, did it help? No, I don't think we really. Well, why were you there for a year?
Yeah.
Like, you have the freedom to find the right support. And to your point, LeAnne, one of the reasons why I switched from business coaching to what I do now is the support that I had after my divorces. No one could specifically talk to divorce. Now, they did help. Don't get me wrong. They helped with healing from the trauma of itself, right? Like we talked about different types of trauma. You can help me teach me how to cope. But what they couldn't tell me was, this is what happens when you get into the next relationship. This is what divorce does to your identity and to your self-esteem and to your lack of self-love. No one could tell me that. And so That is why I got into this business, because there was no one that looked like me, sounded like me, who could tell me, I've been through this and here's how you overcome it. And you said culturally, that's one. I do faith-based and conventional coaching. So I come from a Christian background. And one of the things that was added to the trauma of divorce in faith-based communities, because now you got this shame and this guilt that's put on you in faith-based communities about
Yes.
divorce. So you not only have gone through this trauma, but you've got this extra layer from a community that's supposed to support you. And not every faith-based organization is like that. But you do have kind of this underlying in that community of shame and guilt when you've been divorced. So imagine being divorced 3 times and people looking at you. To this day, I have faith-based communities that will not like have me on the show, or will not, I do events or that will not support it because of that narrative of shame and guilt. And so I wanted to be that voice for that community to say, I'm part of this community. Let me tell you, something a little different, because we are keeping people in trauma and bondage and not allowing them to heal. And this can be any type of faith. I talk about the Christian faith. It can be any faith that keeps people
Right.
in bondage after a trauma. So I also think when you're going through specific healing, you need someone who can also talk to that as well, whatever community you're part of.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think it doesn't always have to be an either or. People come into this thinking, oh, it has to be faith-based, or it has to be this, or it has to be. It doesn't always have to be an or. It can be an and, right? You should be seeking out different types of support, because one may help you fix this one kind of piece of what you're doing. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. Sometimes you're piecing yourself back together, right? So somebody can help you move these sets of pieces together. Somebody can help you with these. You have a different coach or therapist who can help you with this, right? Sometimes it's about having the different people or the different support areas coming to help you with your healing,
Yeah.
right? And being able to try different healing modalities or methodologies, because you don't know what's going to work for you. So a couple of different approaches. Well, let's stop for our intermission for a second, because we got to do a little station identification. So you are tuned into the Wake Up Happy Sis show on KCCR Cityscape Radio, where we're changing the narrative for our people, because we're always telling our story our way. We'll be right back after these brief words. Hey, sis. Ever feel like you're on the verge of a meltdown? Are you overwhelmed from juggling your job, your family, and trying to fit in me time, but seriously dropping the ball on that last one? Guess what? You're not alone. Introducing the Burnout Recovery Kit. It's your 14-day lifeline to go from burnt out to lit up. Get ready to reclaim your joy, energy, and that I got this attitude. Grab your free ebook, a purpose-driven workbook, daily email prompts, as well as SMS boosters and Q&A sessions. It's like a spa day for your soul, and guess what? It's totally free. Don't waste another minute feeling drained. Go to officialburnoutrecoverykit.com right now and kickstart your transformation. The Burnout Recovery Kit, because you deserve to be at the top of your own to-do list. Don't just cope, thrive, sis. All right, and we're back. So I wanted to switch and talk a little bit about kind of some practical strategies for healing from trauma. Okay. So one of the areas that I think is super important is looking at what are some therapeutic approaches that typically work with trauma, like cognitive behavioral therapy, and eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, or EMDR, that have been shown as being effective therapies for trauma. What are there some other kind of healing methodologies or modalities that you use with your clients?
So I'm not a licensed therapist, and so there are some overlapping methods that I use, and some that are strictly that a therapist will use. And let me say this: I am, as a life coach, if I feel like you are not at the point of needing life coaching, I will refer you to a therapist. And a lot of people ask me, well, April, what's the difference? The best way that I can describe the difference between a therapist or a counselor and a life coach is the therapist is the one that's going to uproot the tree. They're the one that's going to kind of go back in your past, help you determine how you got to where you are. They, are very clinical. They have specific treatments that they'll, walk you through. And then a life coach comes along to say, okay, either those roots are up or they're up enough where we can start talking about what needs to go in that space. So what do you want your future to look like? How do we get there? So I work with several therapists where we'll have co-clients. And when their clients get to the point of saying, okay, I'm ready to move forward. So we don't use a lot of the same things. One of the things that I do like to use is the 5-4-3-2-1. And it is in those moments of acute, I wouldn't say panic, but in those moments where that you're getting triggered from your past. And it's, the one where it's like, fine, what are 5 things you can see? What are 4 things you can hear? What are 3 things you can touch? What are 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste, or however they want to do it. But it's kind of a grounding exercise. And this is great for my clients that say, I got that call from my ex and now I'm triggered, right? What are some of the things you can do in the moment to bring you back into reality, right? So that's one. A really big exercise that I use with my clients is I have them write out who they were and who they want to be. I do this with women who are coming out of unhealthy relationships who struggle going back into that relationship. I had a client who was on and off again with a guy for 6 years. And they had this pattern where they would break up for a couple months, they'd get back to, and it was just this pattern. And so right out the gate, I had her write out. I'm big on writing it out. You got to get it out of your head. But I had her write out, what was your life in this relationship? Like, and I want the nitty gritty. Like, what was your life? What is your life without this relationship? And what do you want it to be? So she called one day and she was like, I'm missing my ex and, all these different things. I said, okay, take out your list. What was your life like? Oh, yeah. Every time he got mad at me, he choked me until I blacked out. Every time, and so I physically have them say, what was your, because we so easily forget, right? Because something can be 2 things at once. It can be dysfunctional and desirable at the same time. And so I have them focus on, and not to re-trigger them, because once again, when they come to me, they're at the point where they're not they're not reliving the trauma like that. But that's another exercise. And I say, anytime you feel like you want to go back to what was comfortable at the time, I want you to take out that list and I want you to remember the reality of that relationship. And they go, oh, no, I'm good. We're going to work through not calling him back, or, things like that. So those are two out of many, but those are 2 of the things that I do with my clients on a regular basis.
Right. And I wanted to go back to the 5-4-3-2-1 method, because that's definitely one of the ones I was going to talk about today. So for those who are not familiar with that method, it's a grounding technique that's used to help manage your anxiety, panic attacks, and kind of symptoms of trauma by bringing your focus to the present moment. So it's a mindfulness exercise. So what you're going to do is you're going to look around you and you're going to look for 5 things you can see. It can be anything. 5 things that you can see. 4 things you can touch. It might be like the texture of your clothing, the chair you're sitting on, the ground beneath your feet, right? 3 things that you can hear, 2 things that you can smell, and 1 thing that you can taste, right? Because what that's going to do is help ground you to the present moment. And hopefully it's going to help reduce the overwhelming feelings of anxiety or panic that you're experiencing in the moment. So just wanted to talk a little bit about that in case people were wondering. But it's definitely an effective way for help you regain control of your emotions in the moment and to help calm and center yourself. And you can do it anywhere. You can do it anywhere. It takes less than a minute to do it and just breathe through it. Because sometimes we're so stressed or so we're not even breathing. We're really stressed. And this is about helping to calm, center, and ground you. So and then let me see where I was in my little notes. Okay. So there are also different aspects of self-care that you can practice for yourself as well, right? Exercise is always a great way. Healthy eating, there are foods that you can eat that can help improve your mood, improve mental clarity, right? And making sure that you're getting enough sleep. People think these are three of the most simple things, but they're effective and they work. Because when you're sleep deprived, or your body is not hydrated or nourished properly, it can affect your cognitive abilities. It can give you brain fog, right? So you're not even thinking straight. You're like, okay, I can't even focus, right? So you want to make sure that you're taking care of yourself first. What are the things that I can do that help me? One of the things I like to talk about, especially if you're in a traumatic workplace where you immediately cannot just leave. You can't just leave that job. So every day you're going back into that trauma. Okay. At some point, yes, having all these factors or all these tactics and healing approaches, things to calm and center you, that's fine in the moment. But every day you're going back into that situation. So at some point, you have a decision to make. Am I going to stay in this traumatic environment or am I going to leave? Right? Because reliving and going back through the same trauma isn't good for your long-term mental and emotional health and wellness anyway. So we're looking at not just how do I manage and deal in the moment, but how do I find freedom? Freedom to where I don't have to be in that toxic environment. Now, that might be I'm going to go find another job. It might be I'm going to start my own business, right? But looking at how do I extricate myself from the traumatic places, people, things that are recurring in my life, that is a major, major thing. Because sometimes we don't realize we're like, okay, I've got all these great tactics. Okay, LeAnne, you've given me this. I did this exercise. I've done this, and it's calmed me in the moment. But tomorrow I got to go right back into that fire.
I got one to add to that list. When you have been doing the work of squirreling away your money, like with your promotions and your raises and financially, doing a thing, and it's repetitive, right? For
Yeah.
me, after over 21 years, and when you remove the stress, I replaced my stress of the job with freedom of not just myself, but my mom and the ancestors. And when I talk about the financial part, we've set ourselves up so now I don't have to go back to work. And this is my job right now. I show up for this doggone podcast. And it's
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
and doing stuff, yes. And your finance, so retirement is not a function of age, it's a function of finances. This
Yeah.
is the second time that I've retired. The first time it was out of the army back in 2005, and we moved to Panama, where my husband's from. So 2.5 years ain't do nothing. We in our 30s. The real retirees looking at us like, what y'all even doing here? Because they waited until they were of age to retire. We retired because financially we could and not do a doggone thing, but raise our 3-year-old at the time and stuff. So this time around, after, being abused at work and stuff, I was like, they're doing this because I'm letting them do this. Well, what happens when I change my mind? What happens when I choose myself? What happens when I can show you better than I can tell you with my absence, and y'all go figure it out in like a mushroom cloud in the back, and I'm just walking into my freedom? And y'all, there's so much more to life than helping your employer abuse you. Did you hear what I said?
Mm-hmm.
Because
say it again for them in the back.
Say it again.
Okay, hold on. Let me clack it. Hold on. There is so much more to life than helping your employer abuse you, because they already got you at bargain basement prices with all of your degrees and all of your experience and education and black girl magic. Ma'am, wake the hell up. You are also equipped to run your own doggone business. You don't have to wait on their clock. You don't have to wait on them to decide if you can go on leave, because fuck it all. I'm here to tell you there's life when you bet on yourself. Let me tell you, I don't get out the bed until I'm really good and ready to, instead of 4:15 a.m. and never seeing the sun come up. I'm talking about after the doggone birds been singing and after the sun comes up on purpose.
Girl, that should be a t-shirt. There's life when you bet on, what do you say? There's life after you bet on yourself, or there's life when you bet on yourself. That should be a t-shirt.
Yeah, because it is. You have to bet. I'm a bet on black every time, and black is me.
Because they're betting on you not to know what your worth is. They're betting on you not knowing who you truly are. But when you wake up to who you truly are, oh, it's gonna be a new day. Let me tell you. Because freedom is so much more, and it has so much layers than the word free. It's a noun, it's a verb, it's an adjective, it's all of the parts of speech. And when you wake up to yourself, you like, who am I to let you abuse me? Because you're part of the problem if you don't change the situation. When I woke up that morning in February of 2022, I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I was gone that year, December 31st. Now, you ain't going to know how the Lord is going to present this thing. For me, it was a doggone panic attack at work. And if that's not a wake-up call, oh, I was good. And I was like, okay, Lord, I see what you did there. Okay, let's do this. And I submitted my paperwork because I was tired of not being supported. It was an abusive relationship. Most abusive relationships go on much longer than they have to because you're part of the problem.
I agree.
Girl.
At some point, we have to make that step. We have to take that step to remove ourselves from these situations, right? And that's not always easy. So we're definitely not downplaying it for anybody, right? But at some point, people, what did they say? At some point, the victim will become the abuser, because what's going to naturally happen, you're going to start mirroring what that person's doing to you back to them. So you're no longer just the victim. You're also a part of the problem. You're also an abuser in that situation too.
Of
And
yourself, abusing yourself.
Of yourself, but of yourself and of that other person too, right? And people are only going to do what you allow them to do. At some point, we have to stand up and say, okay, I've had enough. I'm going to get off this ride here. You can stay on there, but I'm going to get off here because I value me. I value my life, and I'm building something better for the future. I don't want to just survive. I want to thrive. And most people are comfortable. Thriving is comfortable. It's safe. I know these demons here.
Yep.
I know these demons here. I can deal with these ones. I just got to be quiet, roll myself up in a ball. Don't talk when he come home. Don't look at him. That's not a life. That is not a life, and you deserve so much more. So let's talk a
Absolutely.
little bit in our last kind of 10 minutes. We like to give the people the tips and techniques and things that they can implement today. One of the things that I will tell you, journaling and creative or expressive writing can be your best friend when you're navigating traumatic experiences because they can help you process your emotions. Sometimes you can't always, the words won't come out of your mouth. They're in your brain, they're in your spirit, but you can't verbalize them. You can sometimes just writing. And I just, when I write like that, I just write whatever comes to my mind. I don't try to judge it. I'm not trying to force it. I just write whatever words come to my mind and come to my heart and let it flow. Right? That in expressive writing, it can help you reduce PTSD symptoms, improve your mental health, because it's a really private way for you to explore and understand the complex emotions that you are feeling. Just get it out. Write a letter to the person who you're having the problem with. Get everything out you want to say, good, bad, ugly, get it all out. Then for me, what I do is I burn it because the goal is for me to get it out of my spirit, is for me to get it off of my heart. We have to learn how to let these things go because these people who have hurt us, they on to the next thing in their life. They're not worried about us. We're the ones still stuck in the hurt and the pain. And 10, 15 years later, we're still suffering. They've moved on.
Hmm.
They moved on with their life. They doing all kind of shit.
Hmm.
But you're stuck in that cycle of hurt because you have not chosen to get the help that you need. So we need to find ways that we can express ourselves. How do we build resilience so that when the trigger comes back at us, we don't fold. We don't get overwhelmed and overcome by the past, that it sucks us back in to that day, that month, that week, right? We have to do the things that are available to us and find what works for us. You have to find your perfect little recipe of wellness things and support so that you can move forward.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. One of the things that I do with my clients is I have them or I ask them, how do you
Hmm.
see the good in goodbye?
Hmm.
Now that's
Find
good.
the good in goodbye. And when I think about that, I work with a lot of people in relationships, but I'll have people who will say, well, I'm single again. I got this whole house to myself. Yeah, you got a whole house to yourself. You can sleep in the bed like a starfish now. You got less laundry to do. But how do you
Mhm.
find the good in goodbye? So that's one of the things that I try to do.
And I tell people, start with your peace.
Hmm.
The good and goodbye might just simply be peace,
I got a quiet house to myself.
baby, right? So Shayna asked, how do you achieve that peace when you feel you haven't been given justice for the trauma? Let me start by saying this. Sometimes you have to be okay with not getting closure.
Hmm.
You're not always going to get the closure or the justice that you deserve, feel you deserve, right? Healing is for you.
Forgiveness.
Forgiveness is for you. It's not for, it has nothing to do with the other person. It has everything to do with releasing that pain, that hurt, and that anger from your body because what it's doing is releasing toxic energy and vibes into your body and into your life. So you have to realize that justice may never come for the trauma that let's say you were raped and that person got away or whatever. You have to be okay knowing that you may never get justice in the way that you see, but The healing is for you so that you don't carry around that hurt, that shame, that guilt, that fear. It's so you can walk down the street again by yourself and not be scared every time a person walks past you, right? It's for us to reclaim our power, our happiness, and to go from just surviving to thriving. Because if you're stuck in that cycle of pain because they didn't get justice, you're not healing. You're just locking it away. And it's going, at some point, it's like a closed container filling with gas. There's only so much gas or whatever air you can put in that balloon before it's going to bust. So do you guys have any feedback for her?
I do. Shayna, empower yourself to give you the justice that you need and go on with your life. Remove yourself from that situation or relationship or whatever have you, because justice is something that you are thinking that it's outside of yourself, and it's not. You can give yourself the permission to help you get out of whatever situation or trauma. You can start, it starts with you. And if you stop helping them hurt you, then you'll see things a whole lot different. Like, you know what? I'm better than this. I deserve better than this. And I'm going to get it. You don't have to wait for somebody to give it to you. You can start the process yesterday by changing your mind, because that part is free. We can do something with that because it's our mind. We can change it at whim. We're women. That's what we do and stuff, right? But you can empower yourself and get on with the rest of your life. And justice will come. It don't have nothing to even do with you. The part that does have something to do with you is you changing your mind to remove yourself from the situation. If you can't immediately work toward it, say by this date, I will be removed, and backwards plan your way out that doggone door. And hey, check. I need to hear back from you after this doggone show, because I got some tips for you, lady. Check, tune back in. I got something for you. You're freer than you think.
Amen. And then Kayla said she's struggling with, I guess, finding her peace right now. Her emotions are all over the place. And she wants to know, how do you release the hurt? What steps can she take to start the process?
So I'll jump in here.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, Kayla, first, thank you for sharing. Number one, give yourself grace. What you are going through is a very traumatic experience. And so a lot of times we, especially with divorce, we are expected to kind of just move on and not feel anything. So number one, give yourself some grace. It is okay to grieve what is happening to you. I say this all the time. Divorce is a death, but it's not a death sentence. So it is okay to sit with your emotions. It is okay to feel what you need to feel. It is okay to be grieving. You may be grieving not just your relationship ending. You may be grieving the good parts of your significant other. You may be grieving the fact that your life is gone. Life as you know it is gone. And that is okay. So number one, give yourself some grace. Number two, take moments to breathe. We talked about some grounding exercises. Take some of those moments to breathe and breathe. And obviously, without knowing you, there's not a whole lot I can give. So, Kayla, get in touch with me. I'd love to talk to you. But it is okay to feel those emotions. And then, like we said earlier, find a trusted source, whether that is someone professional, a coach, a therapist, a counselor, spiritual advisor, someone that you can trust with your emotions. Someone that is not going to sit with you and let you wallow in them and girl, you just go get even. Find someone that is going to uplift you and encourage you in those moments when you cannot uplift and encourage yourself. Lean on them in those moments. But it is okay. Give yourself some grace right now. It is okay to feel what you need to feel.
Yes. And I would add to that, make sure you're establishing a self-care routine, right? Doing things that make you happy things that bring you joy and will improve your mood, right? Go start some sort of an exercise program. Movement brings energy and life to you, right? But find other things that bring you joy. They don't have to be things that everybody else thinks, right? You can find different things to do. Always practice mindfulness and meditation, right? Get in tune with where your body is, what's going on in your body, how you respond to things, so that you know when you're about to have an episode and you can start working on things.
Yeah.
Work on expressing your creativity, right? And reconnecting with yourself. And the last thing I'll say is make sure you're setting healthy boundaries. That's one of the first things I tell people. And that first boundary is with yourself. That first boundary has to be you. And then you set boundaries for other people so that you can start focusing on your health, your wellness, and what's bringing you joy. That's going to be one of the first ways to really get that pain out and just talk about it.
Yeah. Kayla, take a moment and go to my website. Under the resources, there's 2 free things in there. One is a 31-day self-love journey, and one is 7 steps to rebuilding yourself after divorce. I think both of those would really help you right now as you're starting that journey.
Yes. And then, Kayla, you can also, if you're looking to have more detailed sessions, we are always here and available to assist. You can always go to wakeuphappysis.com. I do private sessions, all of that. So you can outline kind of and understand what it is, and then outline a plan of action to move forward. So we wish you all the best. But we've got to get out of here. The hour is up. It is come and gone so fast. So, April, would you like to leave everybody with your final word and let them know how they can connect with you?
Absolutely. Thank you again for having me, ladies. Like I told Kayla, when you guys are going through a traumatic, when you're healing from trauma, one of the best things you can do is give yourself some grace. You are human. It is okay to be human. Find some help. Find trusted help. And if you don't find the right help right away, find another person. But those are 2 of the things I would encourage anyone to do who's healing from trauma. If you guys want to connect with me, you can look me up under my name, aprilnowlin.com, April Nowlin on social media. I would love to connect with anyone. You're healing from divorce, widow, struggling with dating, struggling with healthy relationships. Connect with me. I've got some free resources, some coaching options. I'm here for you. So thank you again, ladies.
Thank you. Sheronda, any final words from you?
Yes. When you're going through something, just keep moving. Don't sit in it. Just keep moving. Just keep swimming. Like Dory says, just keep on swimming. You can't sit where you are and it's hurting you. Just keep moving. Just keep moving. And also, I think your books might be a trauma point or a triggering point for you. Come and see me at bookkeepingforlife.com so we can get you all the way together. I already know you filed your doggone extension, but you still got to get it done no matter how many extensions you get. Let's get these books together. Have a good day.
Yes. And as always, you can head on over to Wake Up Happy Sis and find out about the Wake Up Happy Sis Academy that I'll be launching, our membership community, and some of the programs and the fun events and stuff that we're going to have in store. We're definitely here to be your support system and to give Black women a voice and a community of support that sometimes we feel like we don't have. When we are that strong person, we are the foundation. We typically don't have a lot of people who can be that for us. Wake Up Happy Sis is that support system for you. So head on over to wakeuphappysis.com. And then, as always, make sure you stay locked and loaded to KCCR Cityscape Radio. We have a lot of fabulous and awesome other shows on the network. You can also go to brownstoneworldwide.com. Check out all the fabulous personalities, all the things going over there. Get the Brownstone Living magazine. so you can stay in the know about the people in the neighborhood. And I just want to thank you, April, for coming on the show today. We had a wonderful time talking to you today. Again, you are welcome to come back and hang with us anytime. And for those of you listening, just remember, healing is a journey. It is not a destination. And every step that you take towards addressing your trauma is a step toward reclaiming your power and your joy. It's a step towards moving from just surviving to unapologetically thriving. It is your key to freedom. And we're going to help you with all of that. So, as always, I want you to have the day you're meant to have, because you can always control how you respond to the things that happen to you. With that, we will see you on Monday. Thank you for tuning in for another episode of Wake Up Happy Sis